In the stillness between your thoughts, there exists a profound truth waiting patiently to be discovered. It's an inner space untouched by the constant churn of daily life, a sanctuary of peace and calm, always present, yet often unnoticed. Zen Buddhism speaks of this place, this mind of clarity and serenity that remains undisturbed despite the turbulent world around us. But the challenge lies not in creating this space, for it is already there. The true practice is not to build, but to uncover, uncovering a truth that has always existed within you. Imagine for a moment that within the very core of your being, there is a vast, boundless peace. This sanctuary isn't a place you need to reach through effort or struggle. It's already there, beneath the surface of your thoughts. What if I told you that the Zen path is not one of acquisition, but of removal, that you don't need to chase this peace. Rather, you must peel away the layers of confusion that prevent you from recognizing it. Each thought, each fleeting emotion is like a cloud drifting across the sky, momentarily obscuring the vastness of the open space behind it. Zen invites us to look through the cloud, not to push it away. Zen does not teach you how to escape the chaos of the world. Instead, it reveals a simple, paradoxical truth. The chaos is not the problem. It is our resistance to it, our attachment to the way we think things should be, that causes suffering. Consider this. When rain falls on a wedding day, is it the rain itself that causes distress? Or is it the expectation of a sunny day? When someone speaks harshly to you, does the hurt lie in their words, or in your attachment to how you wish they had spoken? The practice of Zen is to look deeply into these moments, not as intellectual exercises, but as gateways to liberation. It asks you to confront the assumptions and expectations that lie beneath your discomfort. Through practices like Zazen, sitting meditation, we begin to observe the constant flow of thoughts, not to control them, but to understand them. Zen teaches us to see that thoughts are not the reality. They are passing phenomena, like leaves floating downstream in a river. They arise and fade, and in this movement, we begin to understand that we are not the thoughts themselves, but the vast awareness in which they appear. This is the essence of Zen, to sit with your thoughts, your discomfort, your distractions, not to eliminate them, but to watch them come and go without attachment. A Zen master once asked his disciples, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" This paradoxical riddle is not meant to be solved with logic. It is a tool designed to exhaust the mind's constant need for answers and, in doing so, open the door to a different kind of understanding. An understanding that transcends the limits of thought and enters the realm of direct experience. Zen is not about finding the right answer. It's about recognizing the question itself, and in that recognition, experiencing the vast, unspoken silence that holds the question and the answer in one, in the space between your thoughts, in the stillness beyond your judgments. You can hear the sound of the mind's quiet sanctuary. It is not something to be obtained. It is something to be revealed. The first step on this journey is not to seek something new, but to return to what has always been present, patiently waiting beneath the surface. As you sit in silence, the mind continues its endless movement. Thoughts, feelings, and images rise and fall like waves on the surface of a vast ocean. But beneath this ever-changing tide, there is an unchanging stillness. Zen invites you to look beyond the surface of your mind, beyond the fleeting thoughts and distractions that keep you from experiencing the stillness. It asks you to awaken from the illusions that have clouded your perception of reality, to see the world as it truly is, not as you imagine it to be. The mind is a powerful thing, capable of weaving complex stories and creating elaborate fantasies. But these stories are not the truth. They are constructions of the mind, layers of confusion that obscure the clarity that lies underneath. Zen teaches us to look beyond the stories, to question the assumptions that shape our understanding of the world. What if everything you thought you knew about yourself, about others, and about life was simply a story? What if the truth was something much simpler, much more profound, and much more immediate than your mind's interpretations? In Zen, the practice is not about building a new narrative, but about seeing through the old one. The practice is not about acquiring something new, but about letting go of the things that are not real. This process of letting go is what Zen calls uncoupling. Uncoupling the self from the mind illusions. It's like peeling away the layers of an onion, each layer representing a different story, a different identification with thought. The more layers you remove, the closer you come to the essence of who you really are. Zen doesn't tell you what that essence is, but it shows you how to experience it directly. It invites you to stop identifying with the thoughts, the emotions, and the identities that have shaped your life. It invites you to recognize that you are not your thoughts, your feelings, or your circumstances. Consider this: how much of your suffering comes from your attachment to a particular way of seeing the world? How often do you cling to an idea of who you are, of what your life should be, and how things should unfold? Zen invites you to ask yourself these questions, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a practice of liberation. When you let go of the attachment to the way things should be, you make space for the way things actually are. And when you see things as they are, without the distortion of your stories and judgments, you begin to experience freedom. This freedom is not freedom from difficulty, but freedom in the face of difficulty. It is the freedom to meet life exactly as it is, without the need to control or change it. Zen does not ask you to fight with your thoughts, to suppress them, or to reject them. Zen invites you to observe them. It teaches you to sit in stillness and simply watch the thoughts rise and fall like clouds in the sky. The more you practice this, the more you begin to understand that thoughts are not the problem. The problem arises when you identify with them, when you cling to them and make them your truth. The practice of Zen is not to stop thinking, but to stop believing that you are your thoughts. This shift in perspective is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and practice. But each moment of awareness, each moment of letting go, brings you closer to the truth that has always been within you. Each moment of stillness, each moment of observing the mind without attachment is a step on the path toward liberation. A Zen master once said, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." This simple teaching captures the essence of Zen practice. It reveals that the activities of life, whether mundane or extraordinary, are not separate from the spiritual path. The practice is not about escaping life, but about fully embracing it. It is about finding meaning in the ordinary moments, the simple tasks, the things we do every day. The transformation does not come from changing the external world, but from changing our relationship to it. In the practice of Zen, there is no need to escape the world, for the world itself is the path, the very fabric of life. The acts of chopping wood, carrying water, washing dishes, walking, becomes the field for awakening. The key is to bring full awareness to each action, to see the sacredness in the ordinary, to recognize the divine presence in every moment. As you sit in meditation, notice how your thoughts come and go. Notice how your body shifts, how discomfort arises, how emotions bubble up. But in this noticing, allow yourself to remain undisturbed. Each thought, each feeling, each sensation is just another part of the dance of life. You are not here to change it, to judge it, or to fight with it. You are simply here to observe it, to witness it, and to let it be. In this witnessing, you are returning to your true nature, the nature that has always been there, waiting for you to notice. As the morning light filters through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground, the Zen master and his disciples begin their daily work. There is nothing special about their tasks, simply the quiet, humble work of living. Yet, in these simple activities, there is a profound truth, a teaching that Zen reveals through everyday life. The master does not call attention to it, for it is not necessary. The truth is already present, embedded in the routine actions that many people overlook. Zen invites us to discover the sacredness in the mundane. The practice is not about transcending the ordinary, but about fully inhabiting it, seeing it with fresh eyes. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. This saying encapsulates the essence of Zen practice. The tasks remain the same, but how we experience them changes. Enlightenment does not mean escaping the world or transcending the need for basic survival. It means approaching life with a clear, undisturbed mind. It means seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, finding the profound in the everyday moments. For the disciple who struggles with distraction, the act of chopping wood becomes a meditation. It's not just about cutting the wood or splitting logs, it's about being fully present in the process. The sound of the axe striking the wood, the feel of the handle in their hands, the rhythm of the motion all become part of the experience. There is no need to think about what comes next. No need to rush. Zen teaches us to slow down and pay attention, to be fully engaged with the task at hand, whether it is a simple chore or a complex task. In this full engagement, the mind begins to quiet, and the sense of separation between self and action dissolves. The Zen master teaches that to practice Zen is to be fully present in whatever we are doing. When you chop wood, chop wood. When you carry water, carry water. There is no need to add anything to the experience. No need to seek something beyond the present moment. It is in this simple presence that the true nature of the world begins to reveal itself. In every task, in every action, there is an opportunity for awakening. The disciple begins to understand this teaching not through intellectual reasoning, but through experience. As the days pass, the work becomes a meditation in itself. Each action, no matter how mundane, is an opportunity to return to the present moment. In the act of washing dishes, the disciple notices the warmth of the water, the sound of the dishes clinking, the feel of the soap in their hands. These simple sensations become an expression of Zen practice. There is nothing else but this moment, nothing else but the act of washing the dishes. It is not that the disciple becomes a better dishwasher or wood chopper, but that they begin to experience these actions with a deeper sense of presence. The mind, once distracted by judgments, expectations, and desires, starts to calm. In this quieting, the disciple starts to see the world differently. The mundane tasks of daily life become moments of deep connection, where the separation between self and world begins to fade. The Zen master's teachings are simple, but their impact is profound. By engaging fully in each moment, the disciple is able to recognize the richness of life as it is. No longer do they chase after the future or linger in the past. The only thing that matters is the present moment. The wood they chop, the water they carry, these are the only realities they need to focus on. Everything else is just a distraction, a story woven by the mind. When the disciple stops believing in the stories, when they stop clinging to the imagined future or the past, they are left with the truth of the present moment. As they continue their practice, they begin to see that this simple approach to life is not just a technique or a method. It is the way of Zen. It is the recognition that peace and contentment are not found in some distant place or future event, but right here, in the activities of everyday life. This is the heart of Zen, to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sacred in the simple. The practice of chopping wood, carrying water, is not just about performing tasks. It is about cultivating a state of mind that remains undisturbed no matter what is happening in the external world. It is about meeting each moment with openness, without the need for judgment or expectation. It is about returning to the present again and again until the mind begins to rest in the simplicity of being. And so, the disciple continues, chopping wood and carrying water, each action a reminder of the truth that Zen teaches, that enlightenment is not a far-off goal to be reached, but a state of being that can be experienced in every moment. The work may be the same, but the way of being in the world has changed. The disciple now sees the wood, the water, and the world as they are, without the layers of distraction that once obscured their view. In the stillness of the present moment, Zen reveals its greatest secret, that peace and clarity are not something we attain, but something we uncover. In the simple act of chopping wood, carrying water, or washing dishes, we return to our true nature, the nature that has always been there, patiently waiting to be discovered. As you sit in stillness, a subtle tension arises within you, the mind struggling to quiet itself. Thoughts begin to flow, one after the other, as if they have a life of their own. There is a sense of urgency, an impulse to grasp at them, to follow them, to make sense of them. Zen teaches that this very stream of thought is not the enemy, but rather the vehicle for insight. The problem is not the flow itself, but our attachment to it. The mind is like a river, constantly moving, never still. Yet, Zen offers a perspective that allows us to observe this flow without becoming swept away by it. Imagine for a moment standing by a river, watching the leaves float downstream. Some leaves move quickly, others slowly. Some get caught in small eddies before continuing on their way. As you watch, you realize that the leaves are not trying to go anywhere. They are simply moving with the flow of the water. In the same way, our thoughts arise and pass, one after the other, without any need to chase or control them. They are like leaves on the surface of the river, moving according to the currents of the mind. Zen teaches us to observe our thoughts in the same way we observe the leaves floating in the river. We do not try to stop them, nor do we follow them. Instead, we simply watch them as they arise and fade, without attachment. This practice of non-attachment to thought is not about suppressing the mind or forcing it to be quiet. It is about recognizing that the mind is not the problem. It is our identification with the thoughts that causes suffering. The Zen master once said, "You are not the thoughts that arise in your mind, but the awareness in which they arise." This simple statement reveals the key to understanding Zen's approach to the mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which they appear. Thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky, but you, the vast, open space of awareness, remain unchanged. This recognition is at the heart of Zen practice, to step back from the identification with thought and to rest in the awareness that is always present, even as thoughts arise. In practice, this means not chasing after each thought, not trying to understand or solve every mental movement. Instead, you learn to observe with a sense of curiosity and acceptance. When a thought arises, you simply acknowledge it and then let it go. It is like watching a leaf float down the river. You do not grab it or try to hold on to it. You simply let it pass. By practicing this with each thought, you create a spaciousness within the mind, a spaciousness where the thoughts can flow freely without causing distress. This practice of observing thoughts without attachment allows you to experience a profound shift in your relationship to the mind. Instead of being carried away by the current of your thoughts, you begin to experience them as temporary visitors in the mind. Not defining who you are, you become the observer, not the participant, in the constant stream of mental activity. In this way, the river of thoughts no longer overwhelms you. Instead, you become its quiet witness, undisturbed by its flow. The more you practice this, the more you begin to recognize the stillness that lies beneath the surface of the mind. It is always there, just as the depth of the river is always present beneath the moving water. This depth is your true nature, the vast space of awareness that remains unchanged, no matter how the thoughts come and go. Zen invites you to rest in this depth, to trust in the stillness that is always present. Zen is not about escaping the flow of thoughts, but about transforming your relationship with them. Instead of being swept away by the current, you learn to rest in the quiet space that lies beyond it. This is where true freedom lies, not in stopping the mind, but in recognizing that you are not the mind. You are the awareness in which the mind arises and falls. Once you see this, your relationship to the thoughts becomes one of freedom, not attachment. The process of observing thoughts with detachment is not always easy. At first, it can feel like an impossible task. The mind moves so quickly, and the urge to chase after thoughts can feel overwhelming. But this is where the practice of zazen, sitting meditation, becomes essential. In sitting quietly, you create a space for the mind to calm and for the thoughts to settle. The longer you sit, the more you begin to experience the depth of stillness that lies beneath the surface. The first few moments of meditation may be filled with the incessant chatter of the mind, but as you continue to sit, the thoughts begin to slow. They become less urgent, less compelling. In this stillness, you begin to experience the mind as a river, its surface constantly moving, but the depth always steady, always present. It is in this space of stillness that Zen invites you to rest. It is here, in the quiet depths, that you can truly see who you are, not the thoughts, not the emotions, but the vast awareness that holds them all. The mind may continue to flow, but now you see it as it is a river that cannot be controlled, but can be observed with a calm presence. The practice of Zen teaches you to sit with a river of thoughts, to watch it without judgment, and to recognize that you are the stillness beneath the current. In this recognition, the mind no longer has the power to disturb you. You are no longer defined by your thoughts. You are the awareness in which they appear. As you continue to practice, you find that this sense of stillness begins to extend beyond the meditation cushion. In every moment of your life, you can begin to observe the flow of thoughts without getting caught up in them. Whether you are walking, eating, or simply sitting, the river of thoughts continues, but you are no longer at its mercy. You can watch it, but you do not need to be swept away by it. The Zen practice is not about getting rid of thoughts, but about learning to be with them without attachment. It is about recognizing that the thoughts will come, but they do not define you. The river will flow, but the stillness beneath it is always present. And in that stillness, you find freedom. In Zen, there are no easy answers. The practice is not about gathering information or collecting facts. It is about directly experiencing life without the interference of preconceived notions or intellectual concepts. To awaken to Zen is to step beyond the limits of thought, to go beyond the surface of what you know and enter into the realm of direct experience. The mind, with its constant chatter, is the primary barrier that keeps us from seeing things as they truly are. To truly understand, you must be willing to let go of your need for certainty and embrace the mystery of life. One of the most famous teachings in Zen is the paradoxical koan. What is the sound of one hand clapping? On the surface, this question seems nonsensical, a riddle with no answer. But this is exactly the point. The purpose of the koan is not to provide an intellectual answer, but to break the habit of analytical thinking. The mind, trained to search for logical solutions, is unable to grasp the nature of the question. The koan forces you to confront the limitations of your thinking and push beyond them into a deeper state of awareness. When the mind is exhausted by its constant attempts to solve the koan, something extraordinary happens. The mind begins to quiet, and space opens up. In that silence, there is a direct experience of reality, free from the grasp of thought. The koan acts as a tool to exhaust the habitual patterns of the mind, creating an opening where new insight can emerge. This is where Zen differs from traditional forms of learning. It does not rely on intellectual understanding, but on direct, experiential knowledge. It is a knowing that comes not through the mind, but through presence and awareness. The Zen master does not expect the disciple to solve the koan through reasoning. Instead, the master encourages the disciple to sit with it, to allow the question to permeate their being until the need for an answer falls away. This practice is not about finding an answer, but about transforming the way we engage with the world. The koan teaches us that true understanding is not found through mental effort, but through the cessation of effort, through surrendering the mind's need to know. As you sit in meditation, you may find that the mind becomes agitated, racing to find answers, to solve problems, to understand. But Zen teaches you to let go of this pursuit. You are not seeking a destination. You are simply being present in the moment. The act of seeking itself becomes the barrier. By observing your thoughts, by seeing them rise and fall without attachment, you begin to break free from the cycle of wanting and grasping, and in that release, something beautiful happens. You experience the clarity that comes when the mind is not clouded by the constant pursuit of answers. The mind, in its restless state, constantly seeks to categorize and define. But Zen teaches us that reality cannot be confined to labels and categories. The world is not a series of neat, easily understood concepts. It is a vast, interconnected web of experience. When we try to grasp at it with the mind, we reduce it to something smaller, something more manageable. But Zen invites us to embrace the vastness, to live with the mystery of life without the need to define it. As you meditate, you may notice how your mind constantly seeks to label, to define, to categorize. This is the nature of the thinking mind. It wants certainty. It wants control. But Zen asks you to step beyond this, to let go of your need for certainty and embrace the unknown. This is where true freedom lies, not in knowing everything, but in being comfortable with the mystery, with the unknown. It is in the space between thoughts, in the silence, where the mind rests, that we encounter true insight. The question of one hand clapping is not something that can be answered by the mind. It is a question that invites you to experience the limits of thought, to see how the mind clings to its need for answers, and to recognize that beyond this clinging is a vast space of awareness. The sound of one hand clapping is not a sound at all. It is the silence that remains when the mind stops grasping. When the need for answers falls away, it is the awareness that is always present beneath the surface of thought, waiting to be recognized. Zen is not about solving riddles or answering questions. It is about experiencing life directly, without the filter of thought. It is about letting go of your need to know and allowing yourself to be present with what is the koan. Like all Zen teachings, points not to an intellectual answer, but to a deeper experience of reality. It is an invitation to step beyond the limitations of thought and into the vast, open space of awareness. The Zen path is a journey that does not rely on intellect, but on direct experience. It is a journey that invites you to question everything you think you know, to release the grip of the thinking mind, and to rest in the silence that lies beneath. It is a journey that leads not to answers, but to a deeper way of being, a way that is free from the tyranny of thought, free from the need to control, free from the illusion of separation. In this freedom, you find the truth that has always been there, waiting to be recognized. Zen teaches us to approach life with equanimity, not rushing to judge the events we encounter. Life's circumstances, often unpredictable and chaotic, unfold in ways that can't always be anticipated. As humans, we are conditioned to label experiences as good or bad, fortune or misfortune, success or failure. Yet, Zen invites us to suspend these judgments, to allow life to unfold as it does, without our habitual interference. This practice of non-attachment is beautifully illustrated in the Zen story of the farmer and his horse, a story that encapsulates the wisdom of Zen's approach to the unpredictable flow of life. One day, the farmer's horse runs away. His neighbors, upon hearing the news, come to him, sympathetic and concerned. "What bad luck," they exclaim. Yet, the farmer responds simply. Maybe his answer is non-committal, offering no attachment to the idea of good or bad fortune. He does not confirm the judgment of the neighbors. Instead, he remains open to the unfolding of events without clinging to a particular outcome. The next day, the horse returns, but it does not return alone. The horse brings with it several wild horses. The neighbors, seeing this unexpected turn of events, exclaim, "What good fortune!" But the farmer's response remains the same. Maybe his neutrality in the face of both a perceived misfortune and good fortune is a reflection of Zen's teaching on non-attachment. He does not become overly elated by the arrival of the new horses, just as he did not become despondent when the original horse ran away. His equanimity allows him to remain undisturbed, regardless of the external circumstances. The story continues. The farmer's son attempts to tame one of the wild horses but is thrown off and breaks his leg. The neighbors, seeing the son's injury, rush to offer their sympathy, calling it a tragedy. "How terrible," they say. Again, the farmer responds. Maybe he neither resists the apparent misfortune of his son's injury, nor does he cling to the idea of tragedy. He remains open, acknowledging that life's events do not always make sense in the moment, and that our judgments often arise from a limited perspective. A week later, military officials arrive in the village, looking to draft young men into the army. The farmer's son, with his broken leg, is exempt from the draft. The neighbors, witnessing this turn of events, now proclaim, "What good fortune!" But again, the farmer simply replies, "Maybe." His consistent response teaches us the Zen way of seeing life's events not as inherently good or bad, but as part of the ongoing flow of existence, which is ever-changing and unpredictable. This story, in its simplicity, points to a profound truth. Our judgments about life are often premature and based on a limited view of the situation. We cannot predict the ultimate outcome of any given event, and thus our labels of good and bad are often arbitrary. Zen encourages us to step back from our immediate judgments and to cultivate a deeper acceptance of life's unfolding. The farmer's refusal to label the events of his life as good or bad is a reminder to us all that life is not a fixed series of circumstances, but a dynamic process in which every event is interconnected and where the full significance of each moment may only become clear with time. Zen practice helps us to see the impermanence of all things. It teaches us that nothing is permanent, and therefore nothing is truly ours to control. The horse that runs away may one day return with wild horses, and the injury that seems like misfortune may ultimately save a life from being sent to war. Life constantly shifts, and with it, our understanding of what is truly good or bad changes. The farmer's wisdom lies in his ability to remain detached from the external world's judgments, allowing life to unfold without resistance. This Zen story also speaks to the wisdom of accepting what comes with open hands, without trying to control the outcomes. In each moment, we are invited to ask ourselves, can I meet this moment as it is, without judgment? Can I accept life's twists and turns without attaching meaning to them prematurely? Zen offers a path of freedom in which we no longer need to cling to our expectations or our judgments. Instead, we learn to move with life's flow, trusting that each moment, each experience, has its own inherent wisdom, even if we cannot see it right away. The farmer's ability to remain neutral, to refrain from labeling the events of his life as either good or bad, is not indifference. It is a deep wisdom rooted in the understanding that life is inherently uncertain and beyond our control. By accepting this, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. We no longer need to resist or fight against life's challenges. Instead, we embrace them with open hearts, knowing that in each challenge lies the potential for growth and insight. Through Zen, we learn that the true path to peace lies not in controlling or judging life, but in surrendering to it. By letting go of our need to define each moment as good or bad, we create space for true freedom. The farmer teaches us that it is not what happens to us that determines our happiness or peace, but how we respond to it. His maybe becomes a mantra for navigating life with wisdom, equanimity, and openness. It is an invitation to release the burden of judgment and to live in harmony with the flow of existence. In this way, Zen practice allows us to find freedom in the face of life's unpredictability. We are no longer bound by our judgments, our desires, or our attachment to outcomes. Instead, we become free to experience each moment as it is, without adding layers of resistance or expectation. And in that freedom, we discover a deeper sense of peace that transcends the fluctuations of life. The practice of Zen meditation, known as Zazen, is not about achieving a state of calm or stillness, but about experiencing what is. It invites us to sit in the discomfort of the present moment, to be fully present with whatever arises in the mind and body. In Zazen, we learn to meet the discomfort, the restlessness, and the distractions that naturally arise during meditation, not as obstacles to be eliminated, but as part of the practice itself. The body sits still, but the mind is a whirlpool of thoughts, swirling, tumbling, and constantly moving. You may find yourself shifting uncomfortably in your seat, your body stiff or aching, your mind racing with worries, memories, and plans for the future. This is the nature of the mind. It never rests, always seeking, always moving. But Zen meditation teaches us to observe this movement without getting caught in it. The discomfort in the body, the constant chatter of thoughts, are not things to be pushed away. They are invitations to sit with what is, to witness the restless nature of the mind without reacting to it. It is in this sitting, in this stillness amidst discomfort, that the profound power of Zen begins to unfold. As you sit, you begin to notice the mind's tendency to chase after thoughts, to cling to them, to judge them. Each thought that arises is like a wave crashing onto the shore, and your habitual response is to be swept away by it. You may try to push the thought away, to focus on something else, but the more you resist, the stronger it becomes. This is the paradox of the mind. The more you try to control it, the more uncontrollable it becomes. But in Zen, we do not try to control the mind. Instead, we practice observing it with gentleness and patience. We allow the thoughts to come and go without interference. Like watching clouds drift across the sky, we observe the discomfort in the body, the restlessness of the mind, without judgment. We simply allow it to be. This is where the transformation happens, not in forcing the mind into stillness, but in accepting it as it is, in meeting it with openness and compassion. This practice of sitting with discomfort is not about achieving some transcendental state or reaching a particular goal. It is about being present with the entirety of your experience, without adding anything to it or taking anything away. It is about being fully aware of the discomfort in the body, the thoughts in the mind, the emotions that arise, and allowing all of it to be part of the experience. In this space of acceptance, the mind begins to quiet, not because you forced it, but because you stopped struggling with it. As you continue in your practice, you begin to notice something remarkable. The discomfort in the body and the mind does not last forever. Thoughts arise and fade. Emotions come and go. Even the most persistent discomforts eventually pass. This is the nature of all things. They are impermanent. By simply sitting with discomfort, you begin to experience the fleeting nature of everything: thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. The more you sit with what is, without attachment or aversion, the more you begin to experience the truth of impermanence in a direct way. In this way, Zazen becomes a mirror for life itself. Just as the mind is constantly moving, life is constantly changing. We can never hold on to any moment, no matter how much we wish to. The more we try to hold on to life, to make things permanent, the more we suffer. But when we learn to sit with the discomfort of change, to embrace the impermanence of each moment, we begin to experience a deeper peace that does not depend on external circumstances. We become like the river, flowing with the current, not resisting the inevitable changes that come with life, The practice of Zazen teaches us that discomfort is not the enemy. It is a teacher in disguise. When we sit with discomfort, we learn to be present with all aspects of our experience, not just the pleasant ones. We learn to embrace the full range of life, with its joys and sorrows, its pleasures and pains. Through this practice, we begin to develop the capacity to remain undisturbed, even in the face of life's inevitable discomforts. As the mind quiets, you begin to experience a space of profound stillness, a space that is always present, even when the mind is turbulent. This is the space of awareness, the ground of being that is always available to us, beneath the surface of thoughts and emotions. It is in this space that true peace is found, not in the absence of discomfort, but in our ability to sit with it, to allow it to be, and to remain open to the present moment without resistance. This is the essence of Zen practice, not to escape discomfort, but to embrace it, not to eliminate the mind's chatter, but to observe it without attachment. In this space of acceptance, we find the freedom to experience life as it is, without the distortion of judgment or expectation. We stop struggling with the current of life and begin to move with it, with grace and ease. Zazen is not about reaching some future goal of enlightenment. It is about experiencing the fullness of the present moment, with all of its discomforts and joys. It is about sitting in the discomfort of life and discovering the stillness that exists beneath it. As you continue in your practice, you will find that this stillness is always available to you, no matter what is happening in the world or in your mind. It is the peace that remains when you stop fighting against life, when you stop struggling to make things the way you think they should be. It is the peace that comes when you allow life to be as it is. In Zen, there is a teaching that transcends the distinctions between opposites, a teaching that invites us to look beyond the dualities that divide our perception of the world. This teaching, expressed in the Heart Sutra, declares, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form." At first glance, these words seem like a paradox. How can something solid, something with form, be emptiness? And how can emptiness, something formless and intangible, be form? But in Zen, this paradox points us directly to a deeper truth about the nature of reality, a truth that is beyond the conceptual mind and into the realm of direct experience. The practice of Zen is about dissolving the boundaries between self and other, subject and object, life and death. It is about recognizing the inherent interconnectedness of all things. To understand this, consider the wave in the ocean. From one's perspective, the wave is a distinct entity. It has a shape, a height, a movement. But from another perspective, the wave is inseparable from the ocean itself. It is made entirely of water, constantly changing, eventually merging back into the vastness from which it arose. The wave cannot exist without the ocean, and the ocean cannot be understood without its waves. The form of the wave and the emptiness of the ocean are not separate. They are two aspects of the same reality. Zen invites us to see life in the same way. We are like waves on the ocean of existence, distinct in our appearance and experiences, yet inseparable from the vastness of life itself. Just as the wave cannot exist apart from the ocean, We cannot exist apart from the world around us. Our sense of self, our thoughts, our emotions, and our experiences are like waves, temporary, fleeting, and constantly in motion. But beneath this surface, there is a depth, a stillness, a vastness that remains unchanged. This depth is our true nature, the emptiness that gives rise to form. It is not separate from the form, but is the very ground from which form arises. In Zen practice, we are not asked to reject the world of forms, the world of objects, thoughts, and experiences. Instead, we are asked to see through them, to recognize that they are not solid, independent entities, but temporary manifestations of a deeper, underlying reality. The world of forms is like the wave. It appears solid and distinct, but it is always in flux, always changing. The emptiness behind the wave is the vast, open space of awareness that remains constant, even as the wave rises and falls. When we begin to see life in this way, the distinctions between self and other, inside and outside, begin to dissolve. We begin to recognize that our thoughts are not separate from the world. They are part of the same flow. Our emotions, our bodies, our experiences are all expressions of the same interconnected reality. There is no solid boundary between us and the world. We are not isolated beings, separate from the universe. We are the universe, experiencing itself through this particular form, this particular life. This understanding of non-duality is at the heart of Zen practice. It is not about escaping the world of forms or transcending the material world, but about seeing it with new eyes. When we look at the world through the lens of duality, we see everything as separate. This is me, and that is you. This is my body, and that is the world. But when we see through the lens of non-duality, we begin to recognize that everything is interconnected, that the boundaries between self and other are illusory. In this recognition, we find a deep sense of peace, for we no longer feel separate from the world or from others. We are part of the whole. Zen does not ask us to reject the world of forms or the experiences we encounter. It asks us to see them as they truly are, not as solid, fixed entities, but as temporary manifestations of a deeper reality. This is what Zen means by form is emptiness. The form of the world, the things we see, the thoughts we think, the emotions we feel, is not separate from the emptiness of our true nature. It is not something to be grasped or held onto, but something that arises and passes away in the flow of life. The emptiness that underlies all things is not some abstract, formless void. It is the vast space of awareness that gives rise to form and allows it to exist. When we begin to understand this, our relationship to the world changes. We no longer cling to our thoughts, our emotions, or our experiences, for we recognize that they are not permanent. They are like the waves on the ocean, appearing for a moment and then fading away. This understanding does not lead to indifference or detachment, but to a deeper engagement with life. When we recognize that everything is interconnected, we are more present, more compassionate, and more attuned to the needs of the world. Zen teaches us that true peace does not come from rejecting the world or escaping its challenges, but from seeing the world as it truly is, a dynamic, interconnected flow of form and emptiness. When we see through the illusion of separation, we are able to meet life with a greater clarity, openness, and acceptance. This is the practice of non-duality, to see the interconnectedness of all things, to experience the world as a seamless whole, and to recognize that the form of life is inseparable from the emptiness that underlies it. Through this practice, we begin to see that the world is not something outside of us, something to be controlled or conquered. The world is a reflection of our own mind, a mirror of our inner state. When we change our relationship to the world, when we stop clinging to it, when we stop dividing it into good and bad, right and wrong, we begin to experience a deeper sense of peace and connection. The world becomes not a source of conflict or suffering, but a field of infinite possibility, where everything is part of the same flow. As you continue in your practice, you begin to see the world differently. You begin to see the wave and the ocean as one. You begin to recognize that the form of life is always changing, but the emptiness behind it remains constant. In this recognition, you find the peace that Zen offers, the peace of seeing life as it is, without the distortion of the mind's dualistic thinking. You find the freedom to live fully, to engage with the world without attachment, and to experience the interconnectedness of all things. Zen practice teaches that the essence of life is not found in grand gestures, monumental achievements, or dramatic events, but in the simple, often overlooked moments of everyday living. The practice of mindful presence, the ability to be fully engaged in the here and now, is the foundation of Zen. To live fully is not to race ahead, grasping at future hopes or past regrets, but to rest deeply in the present moment, finding richness and depth in even the most mundane actions. Consider the act of drinking tea. At first glance, it may seem trivial, a mere habit, a fleeting moment, but when approached with full attention, this simple action becomes an opportunity to touch the depth of existence itself. In Zen, the process of making tea is not simply about preparing a drink. It becomes an art form, a practice of mindfulness. Each movement, each gesture becomes an expression of presence. The warmth of the cup, the sound of the water boiling, the aroma of the leaves, all of these details become part of the experience, but only when we are fully present to them. This is what Zen means by mindful presence, the ability to engage completely with whatever you are doing, without distraction, without the need to rush to the next moment. It is not about forcing your mind to focus, but about cultivating the capacity to be fully aware of what is happening in the present, whether it is drinking tea, washing dishes, or walking down the street. Each action becomes an opportunity to practice presence, to be with the moment without judgment or expectation. When we practice mindful presence, we begin to notice things we have previously overlooked. The texture of the water as it touches your hands, the intricate details of the environment that surround you, the subtle changes in your body as you move through space. These small moments are not just distractions from the real world, they are the world, rich with meaning. If we only slow down enough to notice, But this practice of mindful presence extends far beyond the physical actions we engage in. It is a way of being in the world, a way of relating to our thoughts, emotions, and interactions with others. In Zen, we learn to be fully present, not just when we are alone, but in all of our relationships and activities. The Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of mindful walking, the practice of walking slowly and with full awareness, feeling the connection between the feet and the earth with each step. When we walk with mindful presence, we are not rushing toward a destination. We are walking for the joy of walking itself, fully aware of the sensations of each step. This mindful presence also extends to our interactions with others. How often do we engage with people only half present, distracted by thoughts of what we need to do next or what we said last time? Zen teaches us to show up completely in our relationships, to be fully present for the person in front of us. When we listen to someone, are we truly listening, or are we simply preparing our next response? Zen invites us to listen deeply, to be with the person without agenda, without judgment. This deep presence in our relationships transforms the way we connect with others, creating space for genuine understanding and compassion. When we begin to live in this way, we experience life as a continuous flow of presence, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary simply because we are fully engaged with it. This does not mean that life becomes easier or free from difficulty. In fact, it is often in the midst of challenges that the practice of mindful presence becomes most powerful. When we are fully present with our difficulties, we see them not as problems to be fixed, but as part of the natural flow of life. We learn to meet challenges with awareness, without the added burden of resistance or judgment. Zen practice teaches us that true freedom comes not from escaping our experiences, but from embracing them fully. It is through the simple act of being present with whatever arises, whether joy or sorrow, ease or discomfort, that we find the peace we seek. This is the heart of Zen's approach to life, not to transcend the world, but to engage with it fully, with a heart of awareness and compassion. As you practice mindful presence, you begin to notice how often your mind drifts to the past or the future. How often you get caught up in thoughts and stories about what should have been or what might be. Zen teaches us that these thoughts are not the problem. They are simply part of the mind's natural flow. The practice is not to eliminate them, but to recognize them for what they are: temporary mental movements that do not define who you are. When you stop identifying with every thought, when you learn to see them as they are passing clouds in the sky of your mind, you begin to experience a profound shift in your relationship to life. This shift is not about perfection or control. It is about letting go of the need to grasp at life and learning to meet it exactly as it is. It is about finding the richness in each moment, even when it seems mundane or trivial. Through mindful presence, we begin to experience the depth of life that is always there, waiting to be discovered. And in this discovery, we find a deep sense of peace, a peace that comes not from changing the world around us, but from changing our relationship to it. The Zen teacher, in his infinite wisdom, reminds us that each moment is a gift. It is not something to be hurried through, but something to be experienced fully, with a heart open to the present. Whether you are sitting quietly in meditation, walking down the street, or engaging with another person, Zen invites you to be fully present, to experience life as it is happening, not as you wish it would be. In this full engagement with life, you will discover the peace, clarity, and connection that Zen promises, not in the future, not in some distant place, but right here in the present moment. Zen invites us to examine the nature of our desires, which are often the driving force behind much of our suffering. In the constant pursuit of what we want, whether it is material possessions, recognition, or emotional fulfillment, we become entangled in a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. But Zen teaches that freedom is not found in the fulfillment of desires, but in the recognition that our desires do not define us. The key to true freedom lies not in seeking more, but in learning to release our attachment to what we think we need. Desire is a powerful force. It propels us forward, driving us to pursue our goals, to work harder, to seek happiness in external circumstances. But the more we chase after our desires, the more elusive they become. The satisfaction that comes from obtaining something we want is always fleeting, like a wave that crashes on the shore and then fades away. Zen teaches us to look deeply into this cycle of desire, to understand that the pursuit of external things cannot bring lasting fulfillment. The more we chase after what we think will make us happy, the more we find that it is never enough. We get what we want, but it does not satisfy us in the way we expect. This endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction is at the root of much of our suffering. We cling to the belief that if we can just attain this or that, we will be happy. But happiness always seems just out of reach. We mistake the fulfillment of desire for true freedom, but this freedom is always temporary. When one desire is satisfied, another arises in its place, keeping us in a constant state of yearning and longing. Zen invites us to question this way of living, to see through the illusion that happiness lies in the fulfillment of desire. It teaches us that true freedom comes not from getting what we want, but from letting go of the attachment to wanting. When we stop chasing after desires, when we stop believing that happiness lies in the next thing, we begin to experience a different kind of freedom. A freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances, but is rooted in the recognition of our true nature. In Zen practice, we do not try to eliminate desire. Desire is a natural part of the human experience, and it will arise again and again. But Zen teaches us not to be controlled by our desires. It teaches us to recognize that our desires are not who we are, that they are just passing thoughts and feelings that arise in the mind. When we learn to observe our desires without attaching to them, we begin to experience a profound shift in our relationship to them. We no longer identify with the urge to satisfy them. We simply observe them as they arise and pass away. Consider the story of a Zen monk who was once asked about his desires. He responded, "I have no desires, only the desire to be free of desire." This statement may seem contradictory, but it points to the deep wisdom of Zen. The monk is not denying the presence of desire in his life, but is pointing to the fact that true freedom comes when we are no longer driven by the need to satisfy our desires. It is not the absence of desire that brings freedom, but the ability to hold desire lightly without becoming attached to it. This freedom is not a state of indifference or detachment. It is the freedom to live fully without being ruled by the constant need to get more, to achieve more, to become more. When we stop seeking happiness in external things, we begin to find it within ourselves. True fulfillment does not come from the attainment of desire, but from the realization that we are already complete, that we do not need anything outside of ourselves to be whole. Zen teaches that desire, when it is held lightly, can become a natural part of the flow of life. Rather than trying to suppress or eliminate it, we learn to allow it to arise and pass away without getting caught in it. Desire is not a problem to be solved, but a part of the natural rhythm of life. When we stop resisting it, we no longer allow it to dominate our lives. We can still pursue our goals, but we do so from a place of freedom, without attachment to the outcome. This understanding of desire and freedom is deeply liberating. When we stop chasing after the things we think will make us happy, we create space for something deeper to arise within us. We discover that true happiness is not found in the fulfillment of desires, but in the peace that comes from living in the present moment, without the constant pull of wanting. When we no longer cling to our desires, we become free to experience life as it is, without the need for constant striving. The Zen practice of letting go of desire is not about suppressing our natural urges or denying the realities of our lives. It is about recognizing that our desires are not who we are, that they do not define us. When we stop seeing desire as a force that must be fulfilled, we begin to experience a profound sense of peace and contentment. The world around us may continue to change, but we no longer need to chase after it. We can simply be with it, as it is, fully present, without the constant push of desire. In this way, Zen offers a radical shift in perspective. It teaches us that freedom does not come from getting what we want, but from letting go of the belief that we need anything to be complete. True freedom is found in the recognition of our inherent wholeness, in the understanding that we are already enough. When we stop seeking fulfillment outside of ourselves, we begin to experience the joy that comes from simply being. Zen teaches us that the self, the identity we cling to, is not as solid or permanent as we think. The mind creates stories about who we are, but these stories are just that, stories. We identify with our past, with our achievements, our failures, our roles in life. But in reality, the self is fluid, constantly changing. The belief in a fixed, unchanging self is one of the greatest illusions we hold. When we let go of the need to define ourselves through these stories, we open ourselves to a deeper experience of life, free from the constraints of identity. From the moment we are born, we begin to accumulate labels. We are given names, assigned roles, and taught to define ourselves through our relationships, our jobs, and our social status. But Zen asks us to look beyond these labels, to see that our identity is not something permanent, but something constantly in flux. Just as the river is always changing, so too is the self never the same, always flowing, The idea of a fixed self can be likened to a building with no windows. Closed off and isolated from the world, we become attached to a specific way of seeing ourselves. And in doing so, we create a barrier between us and the rest of life. This barrier is reinforced by the mind's constant need to categorize and label everything, including ourselves. I am this person, we say. I am this type of worker, friend, partner, or parent. But Zen teaches that these labels are not the truth. They are simply temporary markers that we use to navigate the world. When we cling too tightly to them, we trap ourselves in a limited view of who we really are. One Zen master, speaking about the nature of self, said, "You are not the body you think you are, nor the thoughts you have." This statement invites us to look beyond the surface, to see that our true nature is not confined to the roles and labels we identify with. Our essence is not something we can define or contain within the boundaries of our mind. The body, the thoughts, the emotions, they all come and go. They are like clouds passing through the sky, but the sky itself, the vast space of awareness, remains unchanged. Zen encourages us to rest in that awareness, to recognize that we are not the fleeting thoughts or emotions we experience, but the vast, open space that holds them. Consider this when you think of yourself. What comes to mind? Perhaps you think of your name, your job, your family, your achievements. These are all labels that the mind has created to define you, but they are not the entirety of who you are. They are like waves on the surface of the ocean, constantly changing, constantly in motion, but beneath the surface, the ocean remains. In the same way, your true nature is not bound by the labels or roles you take on. It is the vast space of awareness in which everything arises. Zen practice invites us to investigate this illusion of a fixed self. We begin by observing the thoughts and emotions that arise in the mind. We notice how we identify with certain thoughts. Perhaps we believe we are a good person, a successful person, or a victim of circumstances. These thoughts are all fleeting and impermanent, yet we tend to identify with them as if they are solid and real. The practice of Zen is to see through these identifications, to recognize that they are not who we are. When we sit in meditation, we begin to notice the ebb and flow of thoughts. One moment, we might feel joy or contentment. The next, we might feel sadness or anger. But Zen teaches us that these emotions are not the essence of who we are. They are simply passing states, like clouds drifting through the sky. Our true nature, the vast awareness that holds them, is unchanged. By observing our thoughts and emotions without attachment, we begin to experience a freedom from them. We are no longer defined by what we feel or think. We begin to see that we are not the sum of our experiences, but the awareness in which they arise. This realization is liberating. When we let go of the need to cling to a fixed identity, we open ourselves to the fluidity of life. We no longer feel bound by our past mistakes or achievements. We no longer feel trapped by the roles we play or the expectations others place upon us. We begin to experience life as it is, without the distortion of identity. Zen practice teaches us to let go of the need to define ourselves. to allow ourselves to flow with the current of life, free from the constraints of a fixed identity. The concept of non-self is a central teaching in Zen. It does not mean that we cease to exist or that we are nothing, but rather that our existence is not limited by the stories we tell about ourselves. We are not the roles we play, the thoughts we think, or the experiences we have. We are the awareness that holds all of these things. By seeing ourselves in this way, we transcend the limitations of ego and identity. We realize that our true nature is vast, interconnected, and ever-changing. The more we practice this, the more we begin to live from a place of openness and fluidity. We no longer feel the need to defend our identities, to prove ourselves to others, or to hold on to any particular version of ourselves. We begin to experience the freedom that comes from being in the world without clinging to it. We move through life with ease, knowing that who we are is not defined by anything external, but by the awareness that is always present, always unchanging. Zen offers us a path to freedom, freedom from the illusion of a fixed self, freedom from the need to define who we are, freedom from the limitations of ego. By letting go of the stories we tell about ourselves, we open ourselves to the infinite possibilities of the present moment. We no longer need to strive to become something, because we already are what we are, vast, free, and unbounded. Zen teaches that the true path to understanding is not through accumulation or intellectual mastery, but through a fresh, open approach to each moment. This is the essence of the concept known as beginner's mind. To approach life with beginner's mind is to approach it as if you are experiencing everything for the first time, with openness, curiosity, and without the filter of past experiences or preconceived notions. It is a radical shift in perspective, a return to a state of pure awareness, free from the judgments and assumptions that we accumulate over time. We often approach the world with a sense of knowing, thinking we have already seen everything, that we understand how things work, and that there is nothing new to learn. But Zen encourages us to release this knowing and embrace a state of openness. The mind, when it is filled with preconceived ideas, is clouded. It is only when we let go of what we think we know that we can truly see things as they are. The practice of beginner's mind is not about forgetting what we have learned, but about approaching each moment with a mind that is clear and open, free from the weight of assumptions. In Zen practice, this openness can be cultivated in every action, whether it's sitting in meditation, walking, eating, or even interacting with others. The key is to let go of the habitual patterns of thought that tell us how things should be and instead experience them as they are. This allows us to experience life directly, without the interference of the mind's constant analysis and judgment. Beginner's mind is not just for new experiences, but for all experiences. When we can approach even the most familiar things with fresh eyes, we open ourselves to new insights and deeper understandings. Consider how a child experiences the world. To a child, everything is new. Every leaf, every stone, every person is something to be explored and marveled at. There is no sense of familiarity, no assumption that they know what things are or how they work. In this way, a child's mind is unburdened by the weight of preconceptions and judgments. Zen encourages us to reconnect with this childlike openness, to see the world with wonder and curiosity, as if everything were new. In the Zen tradition, this is sometimes illustrated through the concept of not knowing. To live with beginner's mind is to embrace the unknown, to move through the world with a sense of wonder rather than certainty. When we let go of our need to know, we make space for something deeper, something beyond the confines of intellectual understanding. In this space, new possibilities arise, and we are able to experience life in its fullest depth. Consider the act of drinking tea, something many of us have done countless times. If we drink tea with a mind that is cluttered with past experiences, the mind might wander to thoughts about the tea's taste, whether we're thirsty or not, or whether it's too hot or too cold. But when we drink tea with beginner's mind, we experience it fully in the moment. The warmth of the cup, the subtle aroma of the tea, the sound of the water pouring, each sensation becomes vivid and full of life. It is no longer a simple act. It is an opportunity to practice mindfulness, to be fully present, and to experience the simplicity and beauty of the moment. Beginner's mind is about surrendering to the present moment, free from expectations and judgments. It is a willingness to be a student of life, to see each experience as an opportunity for learning and growth, no matter how familiar it may seem. When we approach life in this way, we begin to notice the richness in even the smallest details, and we begin to see that life itself is a continuous unfolding of newness, even in the most familiar routines. This practice extends to our relationships with others as well. Often, we approach people with a set of expectations or judgments based on past interactions or societal norms. But when we approach others with beginner's mind, we see them as they are in the present moment, without the filter of past experiences or preconceived notions. We listen with fresh ears, speak with openness, and engage with them in a way that is free from expectation. This transforms our relationships, making them more authentic, more connected, and more meaningful. Beginner's mind does not mean that we abandon all knowledge or experience. It is not a rejection of our past, but a practice of letting go of attachment to it. We allow our experiences to inform us, but we do not let them define us. By practicing beginner's mind, we free ourselves from the limitations of our past judgments, our habitual ways of thinking, and our fixed ideas of who we are and what the world is. We create space for a deeper, more fluid experience of life, one that is constantly unfolding and full of possibilities. As we deepen our practice, we begin to see that the beginner's mind is not something that we get once and for all. It is a continuous practice, a way of being in the world, of relating to our experiences, and of engaging with life. It is a reminder to stay open, to remain curious, and to see the world with fresh eyes. In this openness, we are able to experience the world as it is, without the distortion of our mental filters. We no longer need to cling to our judgments, our expectations, or our stories. We simply allow life to be as it is, and in doing so, we return to the present moment, to the fullness of the world around us. Beginner's mind is the key to living fully, to experiencing life with wonder and awe, as if everything were new. It is the practice of letting go of what we think we know and embracing the mystery of each moment. Through this practice, we discover a world that is constantly new, full of beauty and possibility, waiting for us to experience it with fresh eyes. At the heart of Zen practice lies the cultivation of attention and awareness. The way we direct our attention shapes our experience of the world. Most of us go through life on autopilot, our minds constantly wandering between the past and the future, rarely fully immersed in the present moment. Yet, Zen invites us to bring our attention fully to the here and now, to be aware of what is happening in the present, without distraction, without judgment. This practice of focused attention is not a task to be completed, but a way of being, a way of engaging with life that transforms how we experience the world. Attention is a powerful force. When we direct our attention to something, we bring it into our awareness, and that thing becomes more vivid, more alive. For example, consider the act of sitting in meditation. When we focus our attention on the breath becomes the center of our experience. We become aware of each inhale and exhale, of the rise and fall of the chest, of the sensation of air passing through the nostrils. This is the simple act of paying attention, but when done with full presence, it becomes a profound practice of mindfulness. But attention is not just about focusing on one thing, it is about noticing everything. In Zen, we practice cultivating a broad awareness, a kind of expansive attention that includes not just the breath, but the entire experience of sitting. We begin to notice the sensations in our body, the sounds around us, the thoughts that arise and fade. We observe everything without becoming attached to any one part of the experience. This expanded awareness allows us to see life more clearly, to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. When we practice with this kind of attention, we begin to see that the world is full of subtle details that we often miss. The way the light changes in the room, the sound of a bird outside, the sensation of the air against our skin. These things are always present, but we are often too distracted or preoccupied to notice them. Attention allows us to tune into these details, to experience life in a more vivid, immediate way. It is like turning the volume up on the world, allowing us to perceive the richness of every moment. Awareness in Zen is not passive. It is not about simply observing life from a distance, but about engaging with it fully. When we are aware, we are not just noticing, but we are also present, participating in the unfolding of life. This participation is not something that requires effort or striving. It is simply about being open to the present moment and responding to it with sensitivity and care. The more we practice attention and awareness, the more we develop the capacity to be fully present in every moment of our lives. At first, it may seem difficult to maintain this level of attention. The mind, with its constant thoughts and distractions, pulls us away from the present. We may find ourselves drifting into daydreams, planning for the future, or reflecting on the past. But Zen practice teaches us not to fight these distractions, but to observe them without attachment. When we notice that our attention has wandered, we gently bring it back to the present moment. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to remain focused, to be present, and to direct our attention where it is needed. This practice of attention and awareness is not limited to meditation. It is a way of living. As we deepen our practice, we begin to bring our full attention to everything we do, from walking to eating to speaking to others. Every action becomes an opportunity to practice mindfulness, to bring our awareness fully into the present. In this way, Zen teaches us that there is no separation between spiritual practice and everyday life. Every moment is an opportunity to awaken, to be fully present, to cultivate attention and awareness. In relationships, this practice allows us to truly listen to others, to be present with them without distraction or judgment. When we listen with full attention, we are able to hear not just the words, but the underlying emotions, the nuances in the voice, the unspoken messages. This deep listening creates a space for connection and understanding, where communication flows freely and authentically. Attention also allows us to notice the subtle movements of the mind. We begin to see how our thoughts arise, how we become attached to them, and how they shape our experience. When we observe our thoughts with awareness, we begin to understand that they are not permanent, not fixed aspects of who we are, but transient events that come and go. This recognition allows us to step back from the constant stream of thought and to rest in the stillness beneath it. Zen is not about achieving a particular state of mind or reaching some goal. It is about fully experiencing each moment with complete attention and awareness. It is about being present to the ebb and flow of life, with all its joys and sorrows, challenges and triumphs. Through the practice of attention and awareness, we begin to see the world as it truly is, vibrant, interconnected, and alive in every moment. The more we practice this mindfulness, the more we realize that it is not something we do, but something we are. Attention and awareness are inherent aspects of our being, waiting to be cultivated. In this cultivation, we find a deeper connection to life, a sense of peace that comes not from controlling or escaping, but from fully embracing the present moment as it is. As you continue in your practice, remember that every moment is an opportunity to awaken. No matter where you are, no matter what you are doing, you can bring your attention and awareness to the present moment. It is in this simple act of being fully present that true freedom lies. By cultivating this attention, you open yourself to the depth and richness of life, experiencing the world as it is, without the filter of distractions or judgments. In the midst of a world that constantly shifts and changes, Zen offers us a simple yet profound teaching. Serenity is not found in controlling the external world, but in how we relate to it. Serenity is not the absence of chaos or difficulty, but the presence of inner peace in the face of it. It is the ability to remain undisturbed, not because the world is calm, but because we have learned to approach the world with an open, accepting heart. Zen teaches us that true serenity arises when we stop resisting life's flow and begin to move with it, accepting everything as it is. Serenity is often misunderstood as a state of being free from conflict or trouble, but Zen offers a different perspective. It teaches that serenity does not require us to avoid difficulties or to escape from the challenges of life. Rather, it invites us to face these challenges with a calm mind and an open heart. When we stop struggling against the flow of life, when we accept things as they are, we begin to experience the serenity that comes from being at peace with whatever arises. This is the essence of Zen's approach to life, not to seek to change the world, but to change how we respond to it. When we meet life with acceptance, we stop creating resistance in our own minds. We no longer fight against the way things are, because we understand that life, by its very nature, is fluid and ever-changing. Serenity arises when we are no longer attached to how things should be, but when we embrace things as they are. With a sense of equanimity and calm, imagine for a moment that you are standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours down, and the chaos of the world seems overwhelming. Now, imagine that instead of resisting the storm, you stand still, rooted in the ground, fully present in the moment. You are not trying to control the wind or stop the rain. You are simply allowing the storm to pass through you without reacting to it. In this stillness, you find peace not because the storm is gone, but because you have stopped fighting it. This is the secret of serenity, to stand firm in the midst of life's storms, to remain undisturbed by the external chaos. Zen practice teaches us that true serenity comes from letting go of our need for control. The more we try to control life, the more we create inner tension and resistance. But when we stop trying to force things into place, when we allow life to unfold as it will, we create space for peace to enter. This does not mean that we abandon our responsibilities or stop taking action. Rather, it means that we act from a place of acceptance, from a place of inner calm, rather than from a place of fear, anxiety, or desire for control. The key to this practice is mindfulness, the ability to be fully present with whatever is happening, without resistance, without judgment, whether we are experiencing joy or pain, success or failure. The practice of mindfulness teaches us to meet each moment with openness and awareness. When we stop resisting our experience, when we stop judging it as good or bad, we are able to experience the fullness of life in its richness, without the distortion of our preferences. In Zen, there is no need to escape the difficulties of life. There is no need to run from pain or hardship. The path to serenity is not about avoiding life's challenges, but about meeting them with a calm heart and a clear mind. This is not always easy, but it is the practice. The more we practice, the more we cultivate this sense of serenity in our lives, and the more we are able to face whatever comes with grace and ease. Serenity is not a passive state. It is a powerful, active presence in the world. When we are truly serene, we are able to face challenges with strength and clarity. Without being overwhelmed by them, we are able to act with wisdom, without being clouded by fear, anxiety, or attachment. In this way, serenity becomes not just a state of being, but a way of living, an approach to life that is grounded in acceptance, awareness, and compassion. This practice of serenity extends to our relationships with others. When we are calm and centered within ourselves, we bring that calmness into our interactions. We are not reacting to others' words or actions, but responding with a clear, compassionate mind. In this way, serenity becomes contagious. When we are serene, we create an environment of peace around us, and those we interact with feel that peace as well. Zen teaches that serenity is not something we attain in the future. It is something we cultivate in each moment. Every moment offers us an opportunity to practice, to bring our attention and awareness to what is happening, to accept it without judgment, and to move through it with an open heart. The more we practice, the more natural this response becomes. We stop seeing life as a series of obstacles to overcome and begin to see it as a series of moments to be embraced. In this way, Zen transforms the way we live. It shifts our perspective from one of striving and struggling to one of acceptance and flow. It teaches us that peace is not found in avoiding difficulty, but in meeting it with openness, understanding, and grace. The secret of serenity is not a hidden truth. It is something that we can access in every moment through the practice of mindfulness, acceptance, and awareness. When we let go of our need to control, we make space for serenity to arise, and we find that it is always there, waiting for us to recognize it. Serenity is not something that can be grasped or attained. It is something that arises naturally when we stop fighting life and begin to accept it as it is. It is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to remain calm and peaceful in the face of it. And when we learn to live in this way, we discover that serenity is not just an ideal. It is our true nature, always available, always present, if we are only willing to stop and listen. The Zen path is not one of accumulation, but of returning. It is not about attaining something new or acquiring new knowledge. It is about remembering, rediscovering, and reconnecting with our true nature, which has always been there, hidden beneath the layers of the mind. We are not separate from the world, but interconnected with it. The peace, clarity, buddhi, and freedom we seek are not things to be obtained, but truths to be uncovered. When we learn to let go of the layers of judgment, attachment, and identity, we begin to remember who we truly are, vast, open, and unbound. Zen invites us to return to our true nature, which is not separate from the world around us. The mind often obscures this truth, filling our lives with thoughts, desires, and judgments. But when we stop identifying with the mind, we open ourselves to the direct experience of life as it is. The true self is not something we create or construct. It is something we uncover by simply being present with the moment. Zen calls this true self suchness, or tathata, the essence of things as they are, free from labels, judgments, or concepts. The practice of Zen is a process of stripping away everything that is not essential. It is like peeling back layers of an onion, each layer representing a different identity, a different attachment, a different story we have told about ourselves. As we peel back these layers, we begin to discover that beneath all the stories and identities lies a vast, open awareness, a deep stillness that has always been present, even in the midst of our busy thoughts and emotions. This awareness is not something we create. It is our true nature, waiting to be recognized. It is the awareness in which all thoughts, emotions, and experiences arise, but it is not defined by them, just as the ocean is not defined by the waves that rise and fall on its surface. Our true nature is not defined by the thoughts and emotions that come and go. When we recognize this, we experience a profound sense of freedom, the freedom to be who we truly are, without the weight of identity or attachment. Returning to our true nature means letting go of the false self that we have built through our thoughts, our desires, and our judgments. It is about seeing through the illusion of separation, the illusion that we are separate from others or from the world around us. When we recognize that we are not the thoughts we think or the roles we play, we begin to experience a deeper connection to everything. We are no longer isolated individuals, but part of the vast, interconnected web of life. Zen teaches us that this true nature is always present, even in the midst of difficulty or challenge. We do not need to wait for some ideal future moment to experience it. It is available to us in every moment. If we can learn to stop identifying with the mind's endless stories and judgments, the true self is not something we reach. It is something we remember. It is the space of awareness in which all things arise, and it is always available to us, no matter what is happening in our lives. This awareness does not require us to do anything. It is not something we attain through effort or striving. It is already here, beneath the surface of the mind, always present. When we let go of our attachment to thoughts, when we stop trying to control or manipulate life, we create a space for this awareness to arise. The more we practice this, the more we begin to experience life as it truly is: vast, interconnected, and free from the constraints of ego. In the end, Zen teaches us that the path to freedom is not about acquiring something new, but about returning to what has always been present. Our true nature is not something we need to search for or create. It is who we are at our core. When we stop clinging to the stories of the past, when we stop trying to become someone or something we are not, we return to our true nature, and in that return, we find the peace and freedom we have been seeking all along. This return is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process of awakening, a continuous rediscovery of who we are in each moment. Zen practice invites us to continually return to the present moment, to the awareness that is always available. No matter what is happening in our lives, it is a reminder that our true nature is not separate from the world. It is the very fabric of existence itself. As you sit in meditation, as you move through the world, remember this: you are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your identity. You are the awareness that holds them. You are the vast, open space of being, and in this space, there is freedom. In this space, there is peace. And in this space, there is the true self, waiting to be remembered. The Zen path is not about the striving to become something you are not. It is about returning to what you have always been. It is about letting go of the false self and recognizing the truth of who you are. This is the true freedom, the true peace, the true serenity, the freedom to be yourself, without the burden of identity, without the need to become anything more. It is the peace that comes when you stop fighting against the flow of life and begin to move with it. effortlessly and freely. Zen invites you to return to your true nature, to remember who you truly are, and to live from that place of deep connection, peace, and freedom. It is not a journey to the future, but a return to the present right here, right now, in this moment. And in this moment, you find everything you have been seeking.